Hello and welcome to In Business Talks 2, a weekly podcast about people who work together as a couple. Learn the secrets of business partnerships, the benefits and pitfalls of working together, be it husband and wife, father and son, mother and daughter, friends, relatives, or any other combinations of business partnerships. We are your hosts, Tracy and Ian, founders of In Business, a networking and business support community. And together,
we are In Business. As well as speaking with other couples, we'll let you know of any useful business apps or websites out there that our members have come across and shared with us in our regular weekly online meetings. Plus, we'll tell you about our special bonus episode coming up this Friday, our Friday Fix. So be sure to listen all the way through to the end to find out more. Our guests this week on In Business Talks 2 are Lisa and Adrian Wales of LPD Associates. So without further ado, let's crack on with In Business Talks 2. So hello and welcome to Lisa and Adrian Wales of LPD Associates. They're highly experienced in leadership, innovation and change management, and they help to raise effectiveness of individuals, teams and leaders. And they also help to improve the quality and balance in their lives.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us today, guys. It's really good to see you both. Really nice to meet you, and thanks for agreeing to come on the show. We appreciate it.
Very much. Thank you. No, we've been looking forward to it.
Okay, Joe. So do you want to start by telling us a little bit about your business?
Yeah, okay. So there's two of us in the business, obviously, and broadly speaking, we kind of do two main things. We do training, and maybe that's around soft skill training, leadership, communication, building effective teams within organisations, and we do coaching, which is primarily one-to-one business coaching. We work in two main areas. One is education. We work in schools and colleges, and we also work with SMEs, mainly micro businesses, mainly local. So yeah, that's what we do.
Although I just have to add something there, that a lot of the coaching that I do in education is leadership coaching and actually team coaching. So the LPD in LPD Associates stands for Learn, Perform, Develop. And kind of, as Adrian said, that's exactly what we help individuals and organisations to do. And we do that through training, coaching, facilitating, presenting, sometimes a little bit of mentoring and consultancy. So anything really that supports the learning, development, increased performance of individuals and organisations.
Oh, I'm glad you explained that. I was wondering what the LPD. I thought it might have been Lisa something, but I thought, well, where does Adrian fit into that? So,
yeah. Well, to be fair, that it did originally stand for Lisa Patricia Dickinson, which used to be my name. And I used that really when I was self-employed. And when we developed the business, we really kind of did a lot of work about what are we all about. And actually, by happy coincidence, those lent themselves to exactly what we do. So, yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Lovely.
Yeah, perfect. So can we start by asking, how long have you been in business together then, guys?
6 years.
Yeah, I set the business up in spring 2015. Lisa started the business first. I joined probably later that summer, didn't I?
I think, about September, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And whose idea was it then to go in business together? What sparked it off? Tell us the story behind it. Did you just think, let's go in business together, guys, and let's go for it? Or was it a bit more subtle than that?
Yeah, it evolved, to be fair. And it's interesting because obviously, when in preparation for this, we've been thinking about a lot of things. And really what happened was sort of back in, around 2014, 2015, I was looking for a change of direction. I'd reached a point where, I wanted to do something different. I wanted a little bit more flexibility and freedom. And I also had a really sort of strong feeling that I could make a difference to more organisations sort of working freelance than I could sort of in the role that I was in at that point. And so I actually decided to leave employment and go self-employed, really. Mm-hmm. And I fortunately picked up a pretty big contract early on And it was actually the client who said, "Oh, yes, we'd love you to do this. You are a limited company, aren't you?" Oh, yes.
Definitely.
Absolutely, or I will be tomorrow. What?
Anytime soon,
So, yes, that's right. So, I mean, and actually they were great. I said I wasn't, but I was happy to, and they were fine with that. And, as you know, it's fairly straightforward to do. And once I'd done that and delivered the contract and other things started happening, and then sort of Adrian got to a point where he was also looking for something new. Do you want to take over?
Yeah, I mean, I'd spent many years working for the post office, senior project manager, and I was getting to the point where I was looking for something different. So I left. But at the point that I left, I didn't actually know what I was going to do. I took some time off. I spent quite a lot of time in looking at aspects of my previous roles that I loved. And I realised that it kind of all boiled down to one thing, and that was developing people. And so started looking around for some opportunity to do that, and kind of realised that opportunity was a bit closer to home.
Yeah.
But obviously Lisa had a training background. My background was in leading effective teams, and I'd spent a lot of time in coaching and training within an organisation. I'd also worked with sub-postmasters for 20 years, all of whom had their home businesses. So I'd kind of grown a lot of knowledge over that time about all the ins and outs about growing your own business. So it kind of made sense, but like a lot of things, it happened organically, really. It took quite a few months before we kind of went, hey, we could do something together,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it didn't happen overnight then. No sudden blinding flash of inspiration, right? Yeah.
No, and I actually think, perhaps left to my own devices, if it hadn't been for that contract, I don't know whether I would have become a business. And and I think it took a while, didn't it, for us to kind of go, actually, there's some real benefits in this, and to start to see those. And and I guess that the working together, that really helped that to grow, didn't it? Because I think we both brought different ideas, different approaches, different contacts, different goals, if you like, and it just all sort of meshed quite well together, and has sort of pretty much organically grown, over the last 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to coach other husband and wife teams, or two people in business together, and I often talk about a formula of 1 + 1 = 3. Because you bring your own strengths into a business, your partner brings their strengths. But when you put the two together, you can create almost like a separate brand. It's that old saying, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Yeah. And I guess, we feel, particularly as we've grown the business, that's kind of what happened with us,
Yeah, I tell you what we've noticed as well. I think, particularly from the networking group that we run, how people get to a certain point in their lives, if they're in the corporate world, and suddenly they decide, hang on, I've had enough of this. I want to do something else now. And it's surprising how many
that freedom and flexibility that
people not in their early years, in the 20s or 30s, people who get in 40s, 50s, people like that, suddenly decide, just a minute, I've had enough of this now. We've got lots in the group like that, haven't we? People just, corporate world, that's it for me, we'll start a business. So it's refreshing. I think it means that people, even as you get older, there's still opportunities, isn't there? It's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we often talk to clients about making the rest of your life the best of your life, and for us it's about whatever time we've got in this career is making it the best years. We've been lucky enough to have some great careers in the past, but now we really want to do this for ourselves and make it work, and always look then back on your whole career with a lot of satisfaction.
So you've obviously had your own goals to begin with, but have you now got a shared vision for the business?
Oh yes, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we did quite a bit of work on this at the beginning. I mean, Adrian talked about earlier. He's primarily does a lot of business coaching, and what was really nice is we were able to apply, a lot of the things that he knows to our own business. And I think with me coming more from a leadership coaching and training background, I think vision is really important. And so, our vision for our business, wait for it, is that nobody should have a bad day at work. So aspirational, we know, but, I think a vision should be something that you aspire to. And it was really born out of the fact, we've both, sort of had long careers as leaders, as managers, working in big organizations. I've worked in a variety of different sectors, including, sort of big corporate company. And my last 5 years were spent in education as the HR director for a multi-academy trust. And I loved it, and I've loved all the jobs I've done. But, one thing you see is that, you do see a lot of people having tough times. And, I think we spend far too much time at work to have a bad time. And I just felt that often, it doesn't matter what sector you're in, it's the same thing. It's perhaps the lack of leadership development. It's a lack of knowing how to build good teams, or sometimes we get in our own way, don't we? Lack of confidence, or perhaps conflict and relationship issues. And this is kind of really, what I felt that, we talked about what we did. And I think that's the vision, that, we don't want people to have a bad time. And actually what we do is focus very much at helping people to develop the knowledge, the skills, whatever it is, to ensure that they really engage and are effective.
And do you have separate roles within the business then? Do you divide the roles up? Is somebody like head of marketing and somebody head of finance? How do you work that? How does that work?
Yeah, well, we do quite a bit of work on organisational development. It's something that we do with other clients, and I think both quite early on read the E-Myth, didn't we?
We did, yes.
The whole idea of building structure and organisation roles, even if there's just one of you in the company. And I guess also it helps us to realise what we're both good at in it. So, we've allocated product development to Lisa, sales to Lisa. I get to do finance.
And he's chief exec. Is a bit of a funny story because I was the first one to sort of be in the business, and when we were having this discussion, said who should be chief exec, and I was, well, obviously me,
obviously.
Obviously, and Adrian said, well, hang on a minute, let's just think about what a chief executive does, and as he lit, I kind of went. Because we are very different, we're very similar, but also very different, and particularly our strengths, are quite different. I think we meet really well on values and sort of things that we enjoy. We have lots of things in common. We like doing similar things, but strengths are very different. Adrian's very structured, organised, plans ahead, detail focused. I'm just like, hey, let's do this. This will be fun. I've got a great idea, and I know somebody who'd love it.
I've got one like that.
That's
Adrian,
me. That's
got
me.
one like that.
Yeah.
So, but I think, as we said, we come together in lots of ways. We really appreciate each other's different strengths, and that's why, Adrian is chief executive, and I fully accept that. And he's also finance, because he's the one that sits me down at the end of every week and says, give me your receipts. And left to my own devices, I'd be going, receipts? What receipts?
Yeah, that's me. So obviously, do you agree on everything, guys? Do you agree on everything? And if you don't, how do you get around it? Do you ever obviously, businesses, there's issues that occur. Yeah. How do you get around those disagreements, if you like, or if you have any even?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're obviously different, as Lisa said. We kind of come with different ideas. We don't agree on everything. I think it's fair to say we agree on the big things. Sometimes it's the little things. For example, how do we market ourselves, or those kind of things. We talk things through, which is really important. And I think, we both have enormous respect for each other's skills and talents, and therefore, I will always listen to Lisa, and not just listen to be polite, but actually listen because I might learn something, and I think she feels the same way, So I think compromise is important. It's important in business. It's important in personal relationships, and we're both more than happy to do that.
Yeah. Do you think it would be different though if you were not in a personal relationship? How do you think that would disagreements be different somehow?
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking subscribe or follow. This podcast is made possible because of listeners like you. So thank you. We really appreciate your support. Now back to the show.
Oh, interesting. I think that if Adrian and I, worked together in an organisation, I think we'd get on really, really well, and I think we'd work well together. And but I think that's interesting because obviously when you've got a personal relationship as well, you don't want to let work disagreements impact on that. And I think, but actually in our personal relationship, we're also very respectful and very careful. And although, we were just saying this the other day that, genuinely, we've never had a massive row. We've had some debates with emotion.
I think we've had those.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we've never had, sort of, screaming fights and all that kind. Yes, it's very boring. But it's not who we are, and I think but I think that's interesting because perhaps at work, maybe you don't always work quite as hard at that when you haven't got that, very close, obviously, personal relationship as you do sort of as a married couple. So. Nice question, and I suspect it might be slightly different if it wasn't for that. But and I do think we work really hard on that, and also at the very beginning when we were talking about things like vision and what we wanted to achieve, we also talked about how we wanted to achieve it and how we would work together. Because I think, in teams, that's often the bit you see that doesn't happen in the workplace. The goals are there. This is what we're going to do. This is what we want to do, what we want to achieve. They don't always go, and how are we going to do that as a team? How will we work together? How will we manage conflict? And, how will we agree to decisions and things? And actually, we did talk about that. And I think, that helps.
Yeah. Has being in business strengthened your personal relationship?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think, as I said earlier, we've both got a lot of respect for each other, obviously, but working together, we've got to see each other professionally, which sometimes you don't if you've both got, different jobs, so we've both learned from each other. I've learned a lot from Lisa on the training side particularly, and she's picked up one or two things from me. I think the other thing as well, and this kind of links back to the last question, is I've often said to clients, if you work with somebody who you're in a personal relationship with, it doesn't matter whether it's your partner or your brother or whatever, you've got to understand the difference between professional and personal relationships. You've got to understand there's a cut-off. And I learned that quite early on in my career, when working with somebody who was my best friend. You've got to understand that work is work and personal life is different to that. And I think we appreciate that. We appreciate there's a cut-off. It's not always easy to do, but I think just understanding the nature of a professional relationship within business really helps with that.
Mm. And I think as well that, Adrian was saying that, because we get to see each other in our strengths, if you like, and doing the stuff that we're good at, I think that does really increase your admiration and respect for each other. And also what's really nice is that, sometimes when, I'm thinking about, previously when you work and you might achieve something big at work and your partner will go, oh, great, well done, but they don't really understand exactly what it is you've done, whereas obviously now we achieve separately, we also achieve together. And I think, the celebration of that and the appreciation of that success is so much more, really. And inevitably, I think those things do really strengthen your personal relationship.
And what would you say is the best part of being in business together, and what's the worst part of being in business together as a married couple? So what's the best and the worst, guys? Come on. Dish the dirt, guys. Come on.
How long have you got?
I kind of looked at this question. I said, well, what's the best thing about being in business? And Lisa said, the Christmas do.
Yeah, it's really good because Adrian, as the chief exec, has to do all the speeches. And when he makes the awards, I'm the recipient. Yes, it's great. I always get to choose where we go. And, I think there's loads of things, isn't there?
I think the best thing for me is sort of celebrating the success. And a lot of that is client feedback. And it's lovely. Although obviously we both work individually with clients, and that remains confidential. We can say I've had some fantastic feedback from one of my clients today, and because we do very similar things, that means a lot to us both. So that's huge for us, I think. And in terms of worst thing, well, we were just saying, like most people in business, it's that whole thing around switching off and being able to switch off and being able to say, we're done here. And let's get on with the rest of our lives.
Do you find it You're talking about it in your downtime as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think you know, sort of as you know, time went on, we got better at kind of going. Hang on, I think we really need to stop now, don't we? It is 11 o'clock. But yeah, I think undoubtedly that can be, you know, one of the worst things, really, isn't it? That it's almost like you don't always switch off from it, and you have to kind of really proactively try to do that. And I also sort of think, you know, the best thing is like, you know, that, as we were saying, achieving together. And, you know, really understanding what it is that we've both done and brought to it. And, you know, that the speed of communication, you know, I can literally just tell him, you know, it's like, you know, you're not having to work through other people in a big organisation and some of those things. You know, you can do things pretty immediately and see that success. And I think, you know, the other thing, you know, as Adrian said, that, you know, obviously the impact we have on our clients, and we do work together quite a bit. We often deliver training. You know, sometimes if I had a client that, you know, had a lot of people they want coached, I might bring Adrian in to do some of that. And they know us as a couple, and they actually really like it when we work together as well, you know, and you know, I think that helps develop those great relationships with the client when they know it isn't just you, there's two of you, and they've often said that, you know, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, you know, and that's really nice too.
I can imagine you bounce off each other while you're delivering a workshop or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the early days, because we weren't married when we first started, and I remember going to one, it was a school, wasn't it, and we did some training. And we're always very professional, you know, very professional, sort of when we're doing, you know, as you would expect. And we were invited back to do some more work. And I went in to talk to the head and the deputy about what it was they wanted. And it was near the Easter holidays. And they said something like, "Oh, are you doing anything over Easter?" And I said, "Oh, yes, yeah, we are." I said, "Well, you know, we're going away and we're taking Adrian's daughter." And they went, "Oh, we went, "Oh, yeah." And they went, "Oh, we've all been having to have a bet on it because you just connection, you know," and we were all like,
well, they won't they?
Yeah, it just always really, really amused me. Although I have to say, there was this one time again early on. Do you remember it? It was another school, I think, in Huddersfield, and we'd sent the delegates off to do some group work, and we were sort of in a separate room. And Adrian had bent down to do something, to pick some resources up or something. And I don't know why, but I just sort of kissed the top of his head. Because that's the sort of thing I might do at home. And then we both went, "Oh," you know, and thank God nobody had seen, you know. Like, they were all in the other room, you know, but it was so funny, wasn't it? We were just like, "Oh my goodness me."
Oh. So what's the future? What's your vision for your business? And is it a lifestyle business, or do you want it to grow into a massive global organisation? What is the future of LPD? Is it going to be LPD International, or what is the plan?
It's very unlikely. Is it a lifestyle business? I think the short answer to that is yes. Absolutely. You know, we're at the stage of our careers and our lives, I guess, where, you know, the idea of building work around your life is very attractive to us. And so we want to be flexible. We've got, you know, 5 grown-up children between us and 4 grandchildren. We like to spend time with them. We love the flexibility. We want to, in the future, get to a point where probably we're offering more online products and services, pulling back a little bit in terms of the amount of physical time that we do in the business. You know, so yeah, it kind of works around what we want, and of course that makes it so much easier when we're talking to clients about running similar kind of businesses, where, you know, you decide what you want out of your life first, and then you build your business around that, rather than what many people do, which is the other way around.
And what do you think allows you guys to work so well together? What is it makes it work, do you think?
I think, you know, a lot of things really, and we get asked this a lot. Do you find that? Do you get asked all the time, how can you possibly work with your husband or wife or whatever? You know, people are always fascinated, aren't they? And I think it goes back really to what I was saying earlier, that you know, I think, you know, right from the start, when Adrian and I first met, we both do Amdram, and we met doing a play, and I think, you know, we just sort of realised that you know, we had a lot in common, you know, a lot of similar values, a lot of similar interests, and we've got some strengths in common as well, but we've also got, you know, a lot of different things. And I think Adrian's strengths are my weaknesses, and my strengths are Adrian's second strengths, because he's pretty good at those things.
Very diplomatic there, Lisa. Very diplomatic. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can see why it works so well now.
I do, you know, and I think genuinely, you know, Adrian is, you know, he is, you know, calm and collected, and he has, you know, a fabulous presence that people are really drawn to. You know, he's also got all these, you know, great sort of strengths of structure and organization, and, you know, sort of this ability to kind of really get to the heart of something while I'm still talking around it, you know, and he'll kind of nail it, sort of thing. And you know, I really, you know, respect those things, and he brings that sort of into, you know, my life, which has been fabulous, you know, my personal life, but he also brings that into my working life, you know, and I think that for me is, you know, we get to do fun stuff together that we both think is really important, and, you know, we can help each other do it really well. So kind of what's not to like?
Sounds good. Adrian, would you agree with all that?
I'm not sure his face was agreeing with that, but yeah.
Oh, definitely. Well, besides, I think it illustrates another point which I think can be helpful to anybody in business, and that's about bringing other people into the business who don't have what you've got, you know, or can enhance what you've got. You know, I'm always attracted to people, both in business and in personal life as well, friends who maybe have different attributes and strengths to me, because, you know, I mean, one of the things that we both have in common, we're absolutely passionate about, is the whole thing around self-development. You know, we've spent a greater part of our lives, you know, in personal growth, and that's what we help others to do. And so we're always learning. We're always learning from others. We'll learn from each other, and then we pay that forward, you know, and that's a massive part of who we are and what we do. So, you know, I mean, Lisa talked about all my strengths, and obviously I can talk about hers, but actually to have people nearby who provide you something else is a real bonus to the business. You know, we love to bring in other people to help us with our business, whether it's a VA or a photographer or a website designer or a financial services, you know, and we kind of look for other people to do the same, because that's when you build a great business, really, when you've got people in your corner that enhance what it is you've got.
If you were to give someone some advice who was thinking of going into business with their husband or wife, what would it be?
Well, I think to sort of do all that work up front, and to be really clear with each other about, you know, what is the vision? You know, what do we want to achieve? You know, how much time do we want to spend doing this? You know, are we going to work exclusively together, or are we going to do a bit on our own? You know, to sort of have all those discussions, really. And I guess, you know, if you sum it up, it is around what's the vision, what are our goals, get really clear on the goals, but also that all important, and how are we going to do this? Exactly what? And I think, you know, in the early stages of our business, you know, we had quite a bit of it, but it still took a little bit of time to get it right. And actually, very early on, you know, we brought somebody in to work with us as a coach to do some strategy work with us. And that was really helpful, you know, and I would definitely urge people to do that. And you might think, well, you would say that you're coaches, but genuinely, you know, we both have a coach each separately. You know, we work with a coach, and then when we need to, we bring somebody in to work with us on strategy and things like that. And I think to have those conversations and to have that communication, and, you know, to be honest, I find more and more, you know, this is often what I'm saying to leaders in businesses or schools or teams, you know, have the conversations with each other, get clear on what you're all working towards, and the important how you're going to do it. What are your values, and how do you want to work with each other, and almost kind of have an agreement about that. I think, you know, do as much of that work up front as you can.
I suppose, you know, if people, I just thought, if people in business could have the same open, honest, direct conversations that you can have with your other half, it would make business far better, wouldn't it? It would be much easier, wouldn't it? Instead of skirting around issues and all the politics that get played in business, because I've seen it all before. If you can have a proper, honest, open conversation, wouldn't life be much easier in business, really?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's any coincidence that one of the most popular training workshops that we run And also one of the most frequent things I find myself coaching somebody around, particularly sort of, leaders and teams and things, is assertive communication. That ability to really communicate in an assertive fashion and be comfortable expressing your wants, needs and feelings with each other. And absolutely, that's much easier, isn't it, in a husband-wife, relationship than it might be, because the trust is there. You don't have to spend as much time building up that trust, especially that vulnerability-based trust where you can say, sorry, I made a mistake, I got it wrong, I need help. It's harder to do that in the workplace, isn't it?
Definitely.
I think fundamentally, you've got to get on with each other. I spent so many years, as an area manager for post offices, where you'd go in and the husband was behind the post office counter and the wife was behind the sweet counter, and it was obvious they just had a row. It was like that icy atmosphere. It was a bit like that couple in Part of 10, that's just had a real ding dong before you go in. I think you've got to be able to get on with each other, because if you don't, then don't go into business together.
Good tip, that, I reckon. Yeah,
definitely.
Before you go, guys, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that? Tell us how they get in touch with you guys. We've
obviously got a website, www.lpda.co.uk, or obviously email us separately, Adrian or Lisa at lpda.co.uk.
And you're both on LinkedIn as well, aren't you? Okay. Well, we'll put those in the show notes anyway, guys, as well, so that people can get them. So if they do want to have a chat with you and find out more, they can.
Mm-hmm. And it's been lovely to speak to you. Thank you both for sharing your thoughts and feelings on your business. It's been great to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's been a pleasure meeting you both as well again. It's been good. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We've really enjoyed it. It's
been
really nice.
Thank you.
So, thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye, guys. Goodbye.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
And now we come to our knowledge share part of the podcast for this week. So, Tracy, what's our knowledge share for this week?
This week's knowledge share is called Down for Everyone or Just Me. So this can be handy to know if there's a problem with everyone or just something with your ISP or local area.
Another good knowledge share there. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay, so we're almost at the end of this week's episode, but before we go, we're excited to tell you about our bonus episode this Friday on the Friday Fix, where we'll be discussing a business-related subject with a fellow business owner who'll be sharing their advice, thoughts or knowledge on a particular topic. This week's episode is Networking Tips Part 2 with our very own Ian Earle, so tune in to find out more.
So don't miss it. Our special guests on next week's podcast are Simon Glenn and Chris Rabbit of the latest networking platform Meow. We're really looking forward to speaking to them and digging deep into their experiences as a business partnership. Also, if you'd like to join us at one of our regular online networking meetings, then the links are in the show notes.
So thank you so much for joining us at In Business Talks 2. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, all that we ask is that you simply tell a friend about the show. We'd really appreciate it. Until next time, this is Tracy and Ian Earle, and together we are In Business. Goodbye.
Goodbye.